Today in Hope Harbor Zoo, we are building for the lovely Takin. This mod, made by Nick, as well as myself, is probably one of my favorite animals out there. Takin are the strangest looking dudes out there. They are, like, somewhat related to goats, somewhat related to wildebeest. It's very interesting. But without further ado, let's actually get into the build. Can't wait to see you guys there. Welcome back to Hope Harbor Zoo. Alright everyone, back at Hope Harbor Zoo. The last episode we actually covered the African buffalo, and we are going with another bovine. I actually don't think it's a bovine, I think it's a Capridae. This is the Sichuan Takin. Super excited about these guys. So in like, fun little fact, if you guys look up Takin on Wikipedia, the picture that comes up is actually from the Roger Williams Park Zoo, which is my local zoo, which is pretty fun to see that. But regardless, Takin are some of the coolest animals out there. They are actually, yeah, they're bovidae, not bovinae, which contains like cows and stuff, but it's actually the greater group which covers cloven hoofed ruminant mammals. So this essentially covers like goats, sheep, wildebeest, antelopes, not deer though. Those guys belong in their own little realm. But without further ado, Takin are just some of my favorite animals out there. Of course, as I just said, we have them at our local zoo, the Roger Williams Park Zoo. Super awesome guys. Always do love to see them kind of like explore their habitat. Takin are extremely awesome at traversing sort of like inclined terrain, which is always very cool to see. These guys live out there in the Himalayas and stuff, which is just very cool. So in order to evade predators, kind of like, you know, snow leopards and stuff, and I apologize, my dog is shaking in the background. She is just having the time of her life, really. But in order to evade predators, kind of like snow leopards and Himalayan black bears and Himalayan brown bears, Takin need to be very versatile when they are climbing like these high terrains. So they can climb up very intensely steep slopes, kind of like those pictures of like those goats and ibex that you see that are just like kind of scaling absolutely vertical walls. It's very cool just to see how their hooves are actually allowing them to climb those vertical walls. It's very interesting to see how we have these animals that you would think would be extremely clumsy climbing up almost vertical walls. Meanwhile, humans like myself, though I feel like I'm a little bit of an exception, can't really climb too well to begin with, and neither can primates, at least up those vertical steep walls. That's the reason why you don't really see too many primates in like rocky areas. They're more so adapted for climbing trees and stuff like that, using their opposable thumbs and stuff like that. Very interesting stuff when all is said and done. But you can see what we're working on over here is just a very simple kind of like panorama habitat. It starts off with like a viewing gallery that encompasses kind of like a ditch. And that ditch kind of builds up to be a very large kind of mountainous area. This is inside of our Marco Polo trail. So in case of you guys... A little rewind, Hope Harbor Zoo is part of ZSU. ZSU is standing for Zoo Sims United, essentially an online role-playing server for people to kind of make zoos, trade animals with each other. I always call it franchise, but better, because that's exactly what it is. You know your animals are going to someone with the face, and they're not just being used to be put into their puppy mills. This is an actual zoo game, and we really want to build actual zoos with it. Franchise, if you enjoy it, power to you. I just can't find it in myself to enjoy it, but I'm very jealous at people who are able to enjoy that. But this is a lot more fun because you get to share off your zoo with other people inside of the community. When you're playing franchise mode, I feel like you don't get that other person on the other side of the screen. You don't get to see what they're doing with your precious baby tiger or your precious baby African wild dog or even your Takin. Guess what? You can't even get Takins in franchise mode. Another reason why ZSU reigns supreme. So you can see we're actually working on this habitat by working very much in pieces and stages. So what I initially did over here was line up these kind of tiered areas with these climbable wooden beams. Sorry guys, it's been a while since I've actually done a voiceover, so I'm kind of like trying to get back in the groove of it all. But you can see we put in these climbable beams as a way to indicate where the different terrain changes would be. You see this all the time in kind of like, you know, various woodland habitats where you need to create tiered terrain. It's just much easier to keep in the dirt that way, and it's much easier to kind of pack it in kind of like that and make sure that it's all stable and stuff. Again, I'm also using scaling in here. Scaling is going to be released. I'm not sure. They still have a lot of bugs to fix it on. Right now, the modding community is going in a bit of a boom. I gotta do like a video on all this stuff, where we have scaling now, we have new animations, and the first new animation is just flamingos boning each other, which is really, really freaking funny. Super duper that NDP was able to do that. But maybe he can even do it for the mammoth, who knows. But it's just such a really great time to be in the modding community right now, because we have this entirely new game that really only we can play, and it's super great to see that happen. So you could see after we did that initial terraforming, we get started with a lot more plants. Here I'm going with sort of like our new palette, which concerns buffalo grass and these new ferns that we got from the tropical pack. These guys make a really awesome bracken that I feel like works a lot better than the bracken that we actually have in game. It's just super beautiful, super versatile, and super detailed, which I always love to see, especially whenever you are taking pictures inside of these habitats. It's always super awesome just to be able to, like, you know, take any view and see the detail in every single piece that you have in here. Super great. I also have a whole bunch of other items like the saltwort from the conservation pack. I have the bluegrass from the grasslands pack. Really awesome pieces in here that create this lovely lush hillside. And I wanted to kind of toe that line in between lush and kind of trampled on. The whole idea for Marco Polo Trail is completely ripping off Roger Williams, and especially given the fact that Roger Williams' Marco Polo Trail is a somewhat older build. It's kind of like, you know, 2000s, maybe 90s, I want to say. I know Mr. Nicholas Lionrider will probably correct me in the comments down below, but no, it's relatively older habitat, and I wanted to emphasize that in Hope Harbor Zoo too as well. So this would also be a relatively older habitat, so you wouldn't really get too much of this like grandiose theming that we often get nowadays with, like, you know, the Africa rocksization of zoos, I like to say, or like the pantanalization. You often see these trends where these zoos create these huge gorgeous expansions to like their areas and like huge facelifts, but oftentimes you get these older habitats which aren't really shown off that well, or at least they don't have too much theming in that regard. But that's kind of like what I wanted to imply over here with like Hope Harbor Zoo. I wanted to have a little bit of that historical charm. Even though it's not like 1950s historic, it's still pretty damn historic, which I really do like. Without further ado though, we are entering the cinematics. I really do thank you guys for stopping by. Super excited to get back into the groove with Planet Zoo right before I have to go back on vacation again. I say that like it's an awful thing, but I'm going to California. I mean, how could that be awful? Super excited to get in contact with you guys afterwards, where I kind of like report all the cool stuff that happened over there. Thank you guys so much for watching one last time. I really do appreciate it. If you guys did enjoy the video, you guys already know what to do. Really do appreciate your support. Have a great one, and bye-bye.